morning, everybody in TV land. This is Mike Hittner with Historic Point Basse Update, and joining me today on my left is Don Matthews. Welcome, Don.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to talk, well, we're at the site, as you can see. We're right in front of the blacksmith shop, and we've been roofing it. We're going to talk a little bit about our Wakely Whodunit this year, written by Luke Conkle, who's done it for the last about 8 or 9 years. The interesting thing about Luke Conkle, the one that writes our stories for us, he originally started in high school in spirit walks with us, and he got involved and he stayed involved through college, and then he started writing in his latter years of college, and now he's of course got a job like most of us, except for a few of us retired people, and he's still writing the stories for us. So this year it's called the Sand Country, and it's the annual sandhill crane migration is over, and now odd behavior among the residents and a string of unreported thefts have left the sheriff baffled. Superstition around town says the cranes are to blame, but when the grandson of a local matriarch turns up dead, the villagers begin to believe they may not hold the answer to a still larger mystery. So we invite you folks to come out and solve this murder mystery. It's a great amount of fun and enjoyment for a lot of people that really get into that sort of thing. Bring a whole bunch of people, and usually we find the people that work in a group, 5 or 6 people, they have asking different questions, and people are recording it and that sort of thing. It'll be on Saturday, July 27th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the historic site here at Point Basse. So just remember, Saturday, July 27th from 2 to 5. $5 for adults, $2 for students, a great time for all. And we'll come back to this a little bit before the end of the thing. But Don has been in the, he's Sheriff Ray Falk.
Yes.
And Don, unfortunately, has been blamed by a lot of the people that come out to try to figure out the mystery is why we have a sheriff, and he can never figure it out.
Well, it goes back to, at one point, this settlement had over 100 people, and it was one of the larger settlements in the area. So that's why you needed some sort of a law enforcement, and also the people, again, if you look at the history of law enforcement, it happened when people of wealth wanted to protect their wealth, and then they hired personal police, and then they finagled things. That's how I like to put it. So basically, the public would pay for the protection of their own stuff. So that's why there's a sheriff there when it doesn't seem to be that needed, and also that the sheriff is always accused. I don't know why they'd always accuse me of being
on the payroll of somebody else.
On the payroll of somebody else, for God forbid, you know. It's like, I would never do anything like that.
Yeah, I think the old sheriff was that way, but certainly you're not that way. So it's kind of fun. We've got a lot of different characters, people from our community here, our citizens of Point Basse. We got community theater people in it. We have 4-H people in it. So it's a wide range of people that partake in it. So it's a lot of fun. So come on out and enjoy the day. We'll have some water available for purchase if you like. Probably tends to be end of July, pretty warm weather, so come on out. We'll have some water, $1 a bottle, so you can be refreshed. And normally you don't have to be here for all 3 hours. In other words, if you came at 2, normally they figure the minimum, I think they say, is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Enough time. What we did about 2 years ago is we brought the school teacher that was in Carroll Crystal, that used to be in the schoolhouse. We brought her over to this side. We put her up under a tent just because it makes it easier for people not running back and forth over to the school to get searching for clues. So she's on this side. Everybody will be on this side. So basically within about 100, 150 yards you have all the characters in this area here.
Yeah, I have a different thought on that. I sort of like dealing with people that come for 3 hours, and they do challenge us more to account for what we've said and what other people have said about us, and they get deeper into the story. I really do think you enjoy it more if you come earlier. And then for those who aren't really familiar with this, there's people stationed in many of the different buildings on site, and in some tents and flies, and basically they're in period clothes. They're in a period character, And so you get to see the house, you get to see the blacksmith shop and the 3-bay shed and the cabin. So it's very much like coming to another event. And also, you know, don't let it hamper your decision to come because you don't think you're going to see everything on site. You will, and you'll be able to experience. We try to stay in character. I guess if you really have big questions, just ask us to go out of character if you have a question about the site or something like that. But normally we try to stay in character. But it's one of our more popular things. It's becoming more and more popular.
It's really grown, and the beauty of it is that everybody gets involved. It's more than our citizens. We have the whole community involved basically in this process, you know, as characters or people helping out or coming to the site. And so, and
I don't think we stressed that we don't know who did it.
Only Luke knows.
So only Luke, and he makes a reveal. So we're in dark as much as most of the people on who did it.
Yeah, because a lot of times people come up to you and kind of ask you on the side, who do you think did it or something like that. Well, we don't know ourselves.
No.
We've got guesses. A lot of times we're wrong as well as right, but it's kind of interesting the play that goes around. And I think on the last one, I think I had some people come either 4 or 5 times back.
Yes.
Because they wanted clarification on something, answer that we gave them, and we're given just a small script, and then we're giving the script of everybody else that's interplaying with us, and then we've got to play off that script. Now we can ad-lib a little bit, but we can't outright lie. In other words, if we know something isn't right and isn't true, we can't say, well, that person threatened to kill Robert Wakely or something like that. We can't say that if that was never mentioned at all. So we can ad-lib a little bit, but we can't lie, and we got to stick basically to our script or the scripts of the people that surround us. So I think you'll find out it's a lot of fun, and some people really get into this stuff.
Yes.
They love this dinner theater where they have this mystery thing, and it's a kind of a genre that's really grown a lot, and I'd say the last 10 years especially.
Yes.
So July 27th, the Saturday, 2 to 5 p.m., $5 for adults, $2 for children. Remember now, citizens or members get in free. So if you had a membership before, you get in free, or you can buy a membership this day. If you had 2 or 3 people with you, a family, you'd pay for a membership basically by just buying a membership. And we still have
good point.
Fall Harvest Fair, we have the Spirit Walks, we have the Heritage Holidays, so we still have plenty of events in the future too. So it would be well spent money. Now we're going to take a little diversion here. Since we're out at the site, this is actually, you don't see us in historic clothing because we're working. Normally this work group just works on Mondays. We happen to be here on a Wednesday, but they blame me for being a slave driver because I wanted to work 2 days a week because I wanted to get this project done, because we have some Girl Scouts coming out in another week, and we want to get the scaffolding and everything down here. But we're working on putting up a new red cedar roof on the blacksmith shop. The other one had kind of saw its better days, been up about 20 plus years and was kind of rotting through and had some leakage. And we put up rubber over the top of it for, I think it was 2 years now, isn't it?
At
the
least
second year?
2, if not 3. Yeah.
3 years, and now we're putting up the original roof. Now we got the red cedar shingles here, and Don will explain a little of the process that we're doing.
A normal red cedar shingle roof is it's really not a waterproof roof. It's more of a water resistant roof, and they have to have, when you install these cedar shakes, these aren't shakes, these are cedar shingles. The shakes are the thicker ones that are hand split, and then you leave a little bit of a gap there because these shingles will expand and contract with water, on them, and then you lap them so the shingles cover the crack below, and that's a typical cedar roof. And
how many layers would you have on this, Don, when you're done?
What you're shooting for when you take the length of your shingle and how many and your exposure down here, whether you're exposing 5 inches or 6 inches, you want to have a total of 3 layers. So if you go 5 inches, you'll have there and there. So you have a total of three layers on most of the areas. That's the typical philosophy of any wood shingle roof.
And how does the cedar shingle work? You said it wasn't waterproof but water resistant. What happens when water hits us, like say after a rain or during the rain?
Well, what happens is when rain comes, these gaps, they shrink up and tighten up, and so. And it's not so much when it's new, but when it gets older, these shingles shrink more, and if you ever go in an old barn with a cedar roof, you'll be able to see sunlight through that roof, but it will still shed most water. But we've kind of decided as most members, and especially the work members in the last 4 or 5 years, if we're going to do a roof, we want to do something that lasts a long time. This regular cedar roof has a life expectancy of maybe 15 to 20 years, and that's kind of pushing it. When I was working on construction, most of the architects, when they spec'd, we did a lot of cedar shakes, the thicker, rough shingles on mansard roofs in the 70s and 80s. It was very popular. But even then, even though the shingles were on probably about a 60-degree angle on a mansard roof, they spec'd putting a piece of tar paper in between each layer. And I got to thinking, it's like, you know, we have rubber on this roof already, and we started this on the bunkhouse. So what we did, the issue is you can't have that much rubber, because you don't want the rubber. These roofs are exposed from below, and you want them to look historic, so you can't put that much on there. So we used to use about an 18-inch piece of felt on those shakes, but those were roofs that you couldn't see. So what we started doing on the bunkhouse is we'd cut a piece of rubber that would be sandwiched between the shingles. So this roof now, and then when you go up again, there'd be another layer. So it's almost like shingles of rubber and shingles of cedar in combination. So we figure this roof will last upwards of 30-35 years. Even when these shingles are really deteriorated, that rubber will be there. And rubber, usually when it's exposed, can last about 20 years. You know,
yeah, and this is out of the ultraviolet because it's underneath the cedar shingle, so that'll the ultraviolet won't affect it like it normally would on a regular roof.
And we want to do a little bit of a plug for Michael's Roofing, because they have donated this rubber. This is rubber they've salvaged off other buildings, but they have generously donated this to us, and we've used it for many things on site, and it's very versatile for our maintenance. And you'll see later on the new roof that was installed by Central Roofing on our house, and that's another thing that we did. It is an architectural metal roof, but it's good for like 50 years. And our long-range plan is to put this site into a conservancy, so it can be not developed, and it will always stay, I guess you'd say, wild, or as it is now. So we're thinking our mission right now is to provide the best roof we can on these buildings. So, you know, we're all getting kind of long in the tooth, and when we're kind of long gone, we're hopefully, you know, that we're hoping that some other people will come and take over this place, but it's not really
not determined yet.
It's not a guarantee.
And the average age on this roof working on it is about 71 years old. Is Johan is the oldest one at 75, and then there's Larry Eglin, and there's Larry Knudsen, and Nick Viverka, and Don and I, and so the average age up there is pretty high when you consider, and a lot of our members that are very active don't want to go up on the roof.
Right.
And they can't blame them if they don't feel safe. Of course, we don't want them on the roof either. And we use the little scaffolding. We normally use ladder jacks, but the scaffolding, I think it's a little safer, and that we can stockpile more materials up there where we don't have to keep hauling things up and down. So
the main point is to hopefully get roofs that last as long as possible. So if we're long gone and the site might shut down, that it would protect these buildings if someone else showed interest in it in later years, you know. So we're just trying to get a long-term
And a little plug for any of you out there that are retiring or soon to retire and looking for something to do. Our maintenance crew works on Mondays, half day or all day, depending on what our projects are. And this is an unusual project for us, and it's not for everyone, but we have lots of basic projects that anybody could do, and you can kind of pick what your specialty is and what you'd like to do. My wife just told me about a mason that was retiring soon, and I said, well, you know, there's lots of odds and ends, and we're talking about a new center that would be interpretive center and stuff like that, and kind of an office. Well, you know, there's going to be masonry work there. This gentleman could come out, he's wondering what to do with himself when he retires. I said, well, I know what you can do if you so choose, but put a call out to anybody that'd like to help us. I mean, certainly we've got a crew here of about anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7, but you know, certainly it'd be nice to have 10, 12 people.
Yes.
Because there's everybody that needs to take a little break once in a while, a vacation or whatever, and then there's always plenty of people like Larry Eglin helped us on this roof. Well, normally he doesn't work on a weekly basis, but when we got a special project such as the bunkhouse or the roof here, he comes out of retirement and helps us with those projects. So
there's a lot. There's painting, there's mowing grass and trimming, there's cleanup, there's working on the trail, spreading chips on the trail and trimming the trails out. You know, even making signs and
anybody that's
firewood, making firewood, helping you on to make firewood.
Anybody that's a homeowner knows once you've got a house, there's eternal maintenance, and we have a house times about 9 or 10 here, so we've got eternal maintenance here. So welcome you to come out. Just a little blurb yet for our whodunit, Wakely's Whodunit, Saturday, July 27th from 2 to 5 p.m. $5 for adults, $2 for students. The members are free. It's going to be Sand Country by Luke J. Conkle, a young man that has written ours for about the last 8 or 9 years. The reveal is right directly afterwards at 5 o'clock. We'll be out to introduce ourselves, who we come from, and what our names are. And then Luke will start the reveal at that time, and it's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of fun for everybody that's involved. So keep in touch, and thanks, Don, for coming on today.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and thanks everyone out there in TV land.
I'm ready.
Folks, we're over here at our garden. The master gardeners do a marvelous job of growing heritage vegetables here, and we just completed before the festival this year, before the early June, is a cedar fence here that surrounds it to keep the animals out and the rabbits and that sort of thing. It's got a little wire on the bottom, a little hardware cloth. I think it looks like about a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. It's buried in the ground to try to keep out things that might crawl into the garden and everything. But it took us about 4 Mondays to do this. We work, you know, about 4 or 5 hours on a Monday. So we got the cedar and cut it out, and then we got a gate here, and you can see some of the vegetables in here. We got tomatoes, we got the Three Sisters, there's cabbage, carrots, dill, all kinds of vegetables, some herbs up in this area. And there's potatoes, sunflowers on the end down there, and peppers. So they've got a nice mixture of plants in here. This is their heritage garden. They also have a garden now that they planted this year that they've got wheat and broom corn in. It's on a different spot on the site here, but that's kind of new for them here. So this is our heritage garden by the master gardeners. Do a wonderful job.
And I already filmed the wheat garden.
Did you?
Yeah, I filmed the wheat field. I did that while I was doing you guys.
Oh yeah, because it was right over by you where you were set up by the fire.
I figured I'll go over there and get that. Yeah, you can go up by the steps there. And make sure it's back far enough like you can go up. Okay.
Hi folks, we're in front of the Wakely house. This is the roadside, this is the back of the house, and we just wanted to show you a little bit that right after festival, Central Home Improvements put a architectural steel roof on here. Now that's kind of different than we normally do. We normally do red cedar shakes or red cedar shingles, and this was originally red cedar shingles that we took off and covered, but Central Home Improvements did it just because of the height and everything. And this is a architecturally designed steel that looks like shakes, and I think they did a great job, and you can see a little bit of the roof up there, and I think from a distance really you wouldn't even know it's steel, but this is a roof for 50 years so that we won't have to worry about getting up there and patching it and doing it. So we're very happy with this as kind of a project to save our house, because the first place where buildings deteriorate is when they have leaky roofs. So this will take care of that problem for the foreseeable future.